August 2011. Anarchy in the UK. Things were completely out of control, and it was spreading very quickly. A peaceful protest in North London resulted in scenes of destruction across England.
Cars blowing up, the police shouting, their boots on the ground. It was frantic.
Shops looted and buildings torched.
I was angry. It was like a bomb site out there.
The atmosphere was one of free-form chaos.
Police officers, firefighters, and journalists attacked.
They spotted us. Keep going. Go.
It's a really hostile environment. It's the screaming, the shouting, the noise of everything that's going on.
A split second later, I literally saw stars.
Thousands of rioters caused mayhem in city centres and suburbs.
Lives in memory as one of the worst days of our lives.
This is the story of the people at the heart of the riots.
Oh my God!
I said, someone's gonna lose their life in these riots. I had no idea that it would be my son.
Why did so many people take to the streets?
It did feel like the country was just collapsing into complete disorder. It was very, very unsettling.
And could it ever happen again?
There was a really strong feeling of fear, a really strong feeling of lawlessness. You think that was a one-off? No, it could happen tomorrow night.
2011 was quite a bleak time caused by the financial crisis. There had been austerity cuts everywhere. I particularly remember reporting on libraries closing, youth centres closing.
The loss of some nursery services here in Camden are part of many cuts that will be felt across London.
It felt like, why are the little people suffering for, something which was caused by the very rich?
And I make this promise to everyone in Britain. You will not be left on your own in this. We are all in this together, and we are going to get through this together.
There was this huge amount of disillusionment that was beginning to bubble. Amongst many working class communities, and particularly younger working class communities, there was a sense of, this is government at war with you.
I grew up in Tottenham. I tried so much when I was growing up, like education-wise. Just didn't work. Once they gave up, I gave up too. I kind of just took to the streets. My relationship with the police weren't great growing up. Yeah, there was just friction, always been friction.
There was a lot of tension, a lot of very angry young people, a lot of families suffering, and a lot of people say it was just, something waiting to happen.
Some breaking news. We're getting reports of a shooting incident in North London. It's understood that a young man has been killed. Scotland Yard have told us shots were fired and an officer has been taken to hospital.
I got a phone call to inform me that a young black man had been shot after he had exited a minicab and that he had shot at armed police officers.
A police officer makes a desperate attempt to resuscitate a gunman. The man, 29-year-old Mark Duggan, was cornered following a surveillance operation.
I said, "What, Mark?" And they said, "Yeah." And then I was really concerned. Because what I did know about Mark was he wasn't bad enough, and he certainly wasn't mad enough to come out of a car and shoot after police officers. Made no sense whatsoever.
Police had stopped Mark Duggan because they suspected he had a gun. In an altercation, firearms officers opened fire. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
The police story was that there had been a shootout, that Mark Duggan had fired at the police, and that in self-defense, the police had fired back.
I knew Mark. He was a good role model, good father figure. Everyone found out that he's dead, and that day was mad. And for us, because it was so local, it was like, whoa, you know, that could be me.
There were sensitivities around the shooting of Mark Duggan. When you have a situation like that, it's potentially going to be the trigger or a flashpoint for something more serious.
The Duggan family found out about his death through watching television coverage. They weren't informed by the police, which is an extraordinary thing to have happened.
That really heated us off in Tottenham. I mean, even now, 11 years on, I'm so angry.
Tensions in Tottenham were rising.
Hostility. There might even be an uprising here, and you don't know. Mark was one of them people that held Broadwater Farm together.
Which the local MP tried to ease.
I think we need to stay calm, recognise that this is a very sensitive time for the family, and we need to go about our business as peacefully as possible.
I think looking back, we should have expected those tensions to spread, particularly because the police handled everything so badly. But certainly I didn't see it coming, and clearly the police didn't.
You know, was this front page news? Of course it wasn't. And in that sense, the significance of what was going to happen was not understood.
Two days after Mark Duggan was killed, family and friends organise a protest outside Tottenham Police Station.
I'm surprised at how well-natured that was. And the reason it was so well-natured is because there was mainly young women with their children there.
We have been given no answers. The family haven't been told anything as to why Mark Duggan was shot on Thursday.
The family itself and the people surrounding it didn't appear to want trouble.
These officers said to them, we can't speak to you. The Independent Police Complaints Commission is investigating, so we can't speak to you.
Someone's just been shot. The only people who really know what's happened are the police officers on the ground. What are you going to tell them? They want to know answers straight away, and you may be inaccurate in what you told them. So a lot of people are reluctant to tell them anything, you know. So it's a very difficult balance.
The police were like absent. Are you going to kill someone and not explain like, what's going on? That's what done it for the community. And I think we kind of like had enough of not being heard. The kettle started boiling.
The crowd's building up. And the crowd's getting different. It's not just the women and their children. Now it's youths. And they're coming hooded. And they're coming angry. And then it just kicked off.
It went absolutely mental. All we saw was smoke, glass. It started to get dark. People were screaming. There was a voice. There was a voice that needed to. I'm shaking because I'm reliving it.
Tottenham is exploding into chaos. Police officers from around the capital are quickly dispatched to the area.
It's not safe to walk through there at the minute.
We deployed from Fulham Police Station. I went on a blue light run and ended up at Tottenham High Road Police Station. When we were running on a blue light, all the officers were glued to their mobile phones, looking at live news feed.
And more firefighters are drafted in too, as buildings, cars, and a bus are set alight.
I was made aware around about 10 o'clock at night of quite a major civil disturbance happening in Tottenham. When we arrived at the cordon on Tottenham High Road, straight away we knew that this was starting to escalate. It was a really challenging, violent, hostile environment. It's the noise. It's the screaming, the shouting, the noise of everything that's going on.
As rioters and the police face off, Tottenham is descending into anarchy.
2 of my police officers had only just been trained. I literally had to grab hold of those police officers and put them in position. They were trembling.
Flames leap into the night from a double-decker bus burning on Tottenham High Road. Several shops and homes were also set on fire.
It's just hours after a peaceful protest in Tottenham had ended, and police officers are facing a barrage of attacks.
There were rioters constantly hurling missiles, anything they could throw. Bottles, masonry, scaffold poles, bricks, it all came our way.
Had a standoff with the police. Got physical. You know, I saw people hurt. I saw police hurt. I saw the anger being dished out in ways that I've never seen ever in my life. All races, all backgrounds. Community was so angry.
I could see that there were burning buildings and that there were people trapped. And if we didn't get ahead and allow the fire brigade to then come up behind us, it meant that people were at risk of dying in those buildings.
As the police were moving further down the high road, the protesters were setting more and more fires. The Aldi supermarket was alight. It was just continuing to get worse. It wasn't getting any better. And the Metropolitan Police were amazing. They protected us and they put themselves at great risk. They kept us safe.
I could see I was facing hundreds, and that some of the rioters were armed with machetes. I thought there was a high risk. The rioters wanted to kill a police officer in revenge for the death of Mark Duggan. I saw 3 hooded individuals approach me. The middle one raised something above their head, and seconds later, I literally saw stars. I was knocked unconscious for around 10 to 12 minutes. When I came to, I could sense there were people who had my arms. My immediate concern was that I had been captured. After a while, I just gave up and hoped that whatever was going to come next would be quick. I then realised that actually the people holding my arms were police officers. They were trying to pull me away from the rioters.
If you go, no balls are going to get thrown.
I was very confused and disorientated for around 45 minutes, possibly an hour. I knew I was injured and quite badly, but my sense of duty told me I had to remain at the front line. I was hopeful that we would receive reinforcement, but I didn't see any reinforcements for about 5 hours.
Meanwhile, Londoners are caught in the mayhem.
A few of us were on a bus back from the O2. We've been watching Iron Maiden, and then the bus did an announcement and said, this bus isn't going any further, there is a riot happening. And they really announced it on the bus. They said there's a riot. Being a filmmaker and hungry and young, I said, right, this is it, I'm going to work now. Ran home, loaded up with all my camera equipment, got outside Tottenham police station. The first thing I saw that seemed like it mattered was the burning police car. With no police around, like a burning police car and police nowhere to be seen. That's when I knew it was obviously quite serious. And then you can hear someone say about JD Sports.
We just trashed Eddie Sports. We got like loads of free sports wear.
In the early hours of the morning, lawlessness in Tottenham descends into looting.
That's when you notice there's a clear split from people who are there to protest to people that are there to get some free stuff.
They all bought mannequins.
The atmosphere was one of free-form chaos. JD Sports getting turned over for maybe 10 minutes. There's still no police there, and that's when people start getting a bit more confident. That's when Carphone Warehouse gets broken into, and PC World.
Let's be honest, an awful lot of these young people, they weren't there because of Mark Duggan. They weren't there about justice for the black community or protesting against the police. They were there for what they could get at. It was a free-for-all.
A lot of pent-up fury and anguish was suddenly released. That response did not come out of nowhere.
I've seen a guy come out and he's got about 4 stacks of what looks like A3 paper. I don't know why he needs that, but he's got it.
Go in there. There's space to go in.
Yeah, I'm not really here for that.
Met a guy there that wanted us to look after his bike. He'd say to us, you know, people are stealing everything.
Someone's looking at my bike.
Can you look after my bike while I go in the shop? Well, look, mate, given everything that's going on, you could probably take your bike in the shop today. People aren't really fully aware of what they're doing. There's young people there. I don't think they've ever done anything like that before.
Like wants 500 USB cables.
I don't agree with them robbing and looting. I would have rather they took on the police and burnt down that police station to make the system understand that we're not taking this no more. Police let society down. The police just stood back and allowed them to do it.
There's no cops anywhere. Not a single car drives by. Nothing.
What's happening up there? We were just in the Tottenham Business Park. There's some like looting and shit. Like
we found one police and he was stood just on a corner somewhere.
See the news?
No, we are the news.
We're just watching it. There are people like robbing these shops. And, like there's nobody there. I mean, you know, like
they're all being watched on CCTV and they're all being recorded by the helicopter.
Okay.
I still think if they'd have just driven a couple of patrol cars in there, most of the people would have scattered.
The priority when you're in those large-scale riot situations is to protect life. Life is far more valuable. We undoubtedly saved lives that evening.
Seven hours into the riot at Tottenham, exhausted police officers and firefighters are working in ever more dangerous conditions.
Further down the high road, there was a significant fire around the junction.
Carpet Right, which is a carpet building on the bottom but was all houses above it, is just burning. I was stood with the people who lived there watching their house burn down. That was the darkest bit, I think. That was really sad. You can say what you will about people ripping off massive major chains and stealing their stock, but this was actual people's homes.
Fierce rioting in Tottenham last night has been widely condemned by the local community and by politicians.
The sun started to come up and it felt like it just kind of stopped in a way of like hostility. Everyone just sort of disappeared into the local streets.
It's like the horrible hangover from the night before, and you can see, instead of burning cars, just burnt out husks, you know. It's just decay by that point, the whole high road.
That night's rioting leaves 26 police officers injured.
The 19-year-old me wouldn't have cared about the police officers that was hurt, but the 29-year-old me now, there is remorse there. Sorry to their families and that they had to experience that graphic event.
Those who intend on committing crime can be reassured that we have a very strong and robust policing operation in place. We absolutely recognise the fact that the shooting of Mark Duggan requires some careful and clear, independent investigation. We understand that, the community expects it, and they deserve it.
Had the police dealt with us in reasonable time, we would have heard what they had to say, we would have told the community this is what they're saying, and we would have gone back to Broadwater Farm where we started the march. The police dillied and dallied.
I was angry, as I am today. Whenever the subject comes up, I'm angry. And it was like a bomb site out there. But family, that's not what they wanted. It was the last thing that they wanted, because they knew now that they're never going to get justice, because the system are going to say that everything that happened because of Mark.
Police set up a specific operation to find and prosecute the rioters. By midday, 42 arrests have been made. Drained officers, close to collapse from exhaustion, are called back to their bases.
I recall standing in the yard of Fulham Police Station, where I was met by a senior officer. My clothes were almost smouldering. I was covered in soot. My boots were cut open. She said to me, "You're needed back on duty at 4 p.m. And I stood there with my mouth open. She said, "Well, you're just one of the few inspectors that we've got available for public order deployment." I took off my dripping wet overalls, hung them up, grabbed a shower, and then literally went to sleep in an armchair.
Police teams just coming on duty are told to get ready for a second night of clashes.
When I got into my base, I remember talking to my team and saying this is going to be significant. I had the feel by then. I said this could roll on.
Woke up at 3 p.m. very stiff, and I was then deployed for that second night to Enfield.
Rioting in Enfield, 6 miles away from Tottenham, is escalating and shocks the capital.
I wanted to be there. I didn't want to sit at home and watch my colleagues and the good people of London getting smashed to pieces by rioters when I could do something about it. I'm trained to do that. That's why I joined the police, to get in the way of baddies.
Violence and looting also spread south to Brixton.
It was clear that a lot of young working class people, disproportionately of colour, were now thinking to themselves, we have the same anger and fury as the people in Tottenham, and we're going to come out and we're going to smash things up. And that's what they did.
They didn't seem that worried about the political ramifications or the reason for how the riot started. It was more, let's see how much stuff we can nick.
The unrest is now top of the news agenda. All attention is on the capital. But over the next 2 days, the anarchy is about to get even worse.